The multi-billionaire wanted a good and kind-hearted heiress to take as a wife, someone who valued people over wealth. His name was Alexander Whitmore, a man whose fortune could reshape cities, yet he had grown tired of insincere smiles and opportunistic hearts. Tonight, he stepped into the crowded streets of downtown Chicago, not in a tailored suit, but in worn jeans and a faded hoodie. His limousine waited miles away. Here, he was just Alex, another man blending with the crowd. He watched families laughing outside small cafes, vendors calling out their deals, and children chasing ice cream trucks. A thought struck him. How many of these people loved for genuine reasons rather than a bank account? He smiled faintly and adjusted his backpack, walking toward a small charity event he had secretly funded. The organizers had no idea a billionaire would be attending as a volunteer. Inside the hall, he saw her, Clara Bennett, radiant yet humble, moving through the crowd with a grace that made others notice, but she didn't flaunt her beauty or charm. Her laughter was genuine, her eyes kind. Alexander felt something unfamiliar, a tug in his chest that whispered, "This is the one." He had no idea that today would set in motion events that would challenge every notion he had about love, trust, and identity. Clara Bennett wiped a smudge of paint from her apron, laughing as a group of children tried to paint a mural on the community center wall. She had always loved helping others, not for recognition, but because it filled her soul. Today's project was about teaching kids that small acts of kindness could make a difference, something Alexander found himself silently admiring. As he helped a boy hang his tiny painting, he accidentally brushed against Clara. "Oh, sorry," he said, lowering his hood to reveal a glimpse of his sharp features. She smiled warmly, her eyes sparkling. "No worries, you're helping, more than most," she said, and Alexander felt an unfamiliar warmth at her words. For the first time in years, he wasn't met with curiosity or flattery, just honest appreciation. They laughed over spilled paint and tangled brushes, sharing stories of childhood dreams and little victories. Every word she spoke, every gesture of hers, seemed to echo in his mind long after. Yet Alexander felt a pang of worry. How long could he keep his identity hidden? The more he got to know her, the more he feared losing her trust if she discovered the truth too soon. Today was supposed to be simple volunteering. Instead, it had become the first step in a life-altering journey. The next morning, Clara found herself rushing through a busy Chicago street, balancing a tray of donated sandwiches for a shelter. Alexander followed quietly, pretending to be another volunteer, his hoodie hiding his expensive watch and crisp shoes. "Hey, careful," Clara called out, as a man bumped into her, spilling some sandwiches onto the wet pavement. She frowned, helping the man pick them up. "It's okay," he muttered, looking ashamed. Clara offered a warm smile, placing an arm on his shoulder. "Everyone deserves a meal. Don't worry about it." Alexander's chest tightened. He had seen wealth and power manipulate people, but here was a woman whose kindness was instinctive, not calculated. She didn't know he had funded this shelter. To her, this was just another day helping others. Later, as they served the food together, a boy approached Clara, clutching a broken toy car. "I can't fix it," he whispered. Without hesitation, Clara knelt and carefully examined it. Alexander watched, amazed. She handed him a small set of tools and patiently taught him how to repair it, never once showing frustration. Alexander realized then that Clara's heart was exactly what he had been searching for, genuine, patient, unwavering. But the more he admired her, the heavier the secret he carried felt. How long before truth would test everything between them? By late afternoon, a sudden drizzle fell over Chicago. Clara hurried down the street, her umbrella flipping in the wind. Alexander jogged to keep pace, holding his own umbrella awkwardly. "Need some help?" he asked, his voice soft but confident. Clara laughed, brushing wet hair from her face. "I've got this, mostly," she replied, though she clearly appreciated the company. They ducked under a cafe awning, sharing a fleeting moment of warmth. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the rain, and for a second, the world seemed to shrink around them. "I like how you care," Alexander said, looking her sincerely. Clara tilted her head, curious. "About what?" "Everything you do. You see people. Really see them. It's rare," he admitted. Her smile softened, the kind that could light even the grayest day. Thunder rumbled, and they laughed at the coincidence. She offered him a sip from her steaming cup. Their fingers brushed, and Alexander felt a jolt, a mix of excitement and fear. This wasn't just attraction, it was something deeper, something that could change him forever. But a shadow lingered behind his eyes. How could he grow closer to her without revealing the life he had carefully hidden? The rain washed the streets, yet secrets clung like shadows in the corners of his heart. A week later, Alexander found himself invited to a charity gala Clara had helped organize. He entered in his disguise, jeans, a simple blazer, and shoes scuffed just enough to seem ordinary. Clara didn't know he was a billionaire, and Alexander intended to keep it that way. As they mingled with donors and volunteers, a sharp-eyed socialite approached Clara and whispered about Alexander. "You're lucky he even talks to someone like you," she hissed. Clara frowned, sensing a sting in the words, but unsure what to think. Alexander's pulse quickened. He wanted to intervene, to tell the truth, but the moment felt delicate. Clara excused herself and joined him in a quieter room. "Why did she say that?" she asked softly. Alexander hesitated. "Some people, they judge too quickly," he said, forcing a calm tone. Her eyes searched his. "I like people for who they are," she said firmly, "not for what others think." Alexander felt both admiration and guilt. How could he continue the charade when every moment with her was so genuine, so precious? The secret he carried now felt like a weight pressing down on his heart. Could honesty survive the world's judgment, or would it shatter the fragile bond they were building? The next afternoon, Alexander and Clara walked through Millennium Park, enjoying the crisp autumn air. Children chased leaves, and street performers played soft jazz in the background. Alexander kept a careful eye on every passerby. After all, one wrong glance could expose him. Suddenly, a young journalist approached, notebook in hand. "Excuse me," she said brightly. "Are you Alex Whitmore, the tech billionaire?" Alexander froze. He had carefully avoided public appearances while disguised, yet here was someone who could shatter everything. Clara looked confused. "Alex?" she asked, tilting her head. Alexander forced a laugh. "No, that's another guy," he said quickly, stepping between her and the journalist. His heartbeat thundered in his chest. The journalist frowned. "You look just like him," she insisted, snapping a candid photo. Alexander's mind raced. If this image spread online, Clara might discover the truth sooner than he intended. Clara sensed his tension. "Is everything okay?" she asked gently. Alexander smiled tightly, masking fear. "Yes, just a little paparazzi chaos," he said, guiding her away. As they walked, Alexander realized the stakes had just grown higher. Every smile, every shared moment now carried the risk of exposure. Love, he knew, would come with a price, but he couldn't let Clara see the weight of his world. Not yet. A few days later, Alexander and Clara volunteered at a local senior center. She guided the elderly in painting small canvases, her patience boundless. Alexander watched her, amazed at how naturally she connected with everyone. He silently handed out supplies, careful not to draw attention to himself. One woman, Mrs. Hampton, struggled to lift her brush. Clara knelt beside her. "Here, let me help," she said softly, guiding the woman's hand. Alexander felt a lump in his throat. This was the kind of kindness money could never buy. During a quiet moment, Clara noticed Alexander's careful gestures. "You're really thoughtful," she said, smiling warmly. "I just like seeing people happy, that's all." But the truth was far more complicated. He had funded this center, its programs, and the staff's salaries. He was literally giving them a future while hiding his wealth. Clara's eyes sparkled with sincerity. "You know, most people just donate money and forget about the rest. You really care," she said. Alexander's heart tightened. She had no idea he was the one behind it all. In that moment, he knew the truth. Clara's heart was pure. Loving her meant more than wealth. It meant proving he could be the man she deserved, even if it meant hiding everything else for now. That evening, Clara invited Alexander to a cozy rooftop cafe overlooking Chicago's skyline. String lights twinkled above them, casting a warm glow on their table. The city hummed below, but up here, it felt like there